Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Book Writing Journal, episode 3. So I'd like to say, first of all, thank you so much for being here, listening to this, and thank you for writing your comments of support, your emails of support, and your suggestions for a working title and a book cover. I'm working in a small masterclass for those of you who don't know, and in that masterclass are 2 other budding authors, and the masterclass is called The Story House, run by Patty M. Hall. So in these future updates, I may refer to The Story House, I may refer to Patty, and I may refer to other authors that I'm working with as we co-create this book writing journey. This is the journal. So this update, I want to share with you what's been happening over the last 2.5 weeks. I'd like to share with you the working title and the ideas that I have for the book cover, and just give you a sense of where I'm at in this book writing journey, because it really is another journey. It's a real quest, in fact. And I never imagined when I started this that it would be as deep and as transformational as it is turning out to be. I was listening to a podcast the other day by a spiritualist called Lee Harris. And Lee was saying that April is really the creation energy. And that as we create, we heal. And April really is that kind of creation energy. You know, the sun's shining brightly through the windows, the flowers are all out, you know, the birds are all out, everything is starting to regenerate after the winter. And this creation energy is very healing for all of us. And he specifically called out and said, you know, if you're writing a book, then allow the book writing process to heal you as you go through it. And it has definitely brought up a lot for me in terms of how I feel about certain issues, how I feel about my own experiences, because the experiences that I remember and the stories that I have about them have changed over the years. So the story stayed the same, but my perspective on that story has shifted. And as I go through this writing process, I'm really being called to question, what did that really mean? What am I still telling myself about that is true or untrue? How do I remember that from a place of intellect, but also how do I remember that from a place of feeling? And just amongst us friends, the place of feeling for me has been quite, I'm going to say, painful in one sense and profound in another sense. You know, I found myself crying or holding back tears or really being stoic as well, as I've had to recount the many different things that I've experienced in my life. And I have this kind of little, you know, almost like a little gremlin on my shoulder saying, you know, this is really interesting, or who wants to read about this? And it's quite common for those of us who are writing to have this experience, because we see it differently to how other people see it. And so I'm constantly thinking, you know, is this going to be interesting for the reader? How will this benefit the reader? And the process so far has been so different to everything else I've done in my career, because everything else has been structured. But I'm giving myself the space and the time to really be unstructured in one sense. I have a list of things that I'd like to write out as stories, or as, you know, potentially chapters or chunks. And what I don't have clarity on yet is how that's going to fit together into one book or possibly more books. But I have absolute faith and trust that that will come. So a lot of my work at the moment is really digging into memory, and it's a lot of research as I go along the way as well. So I'm constantly on Wikipedia, and I think I shared this in my last update. I'm constantly searching other parts of the internet or other resources to really find the deeper meaning in things. And although I know that memoir isn't really plot driven, I'm really a little bit of a perfectionist. And so when I talk about my experiences somewhere, I want to be able to use the right words. I want to be able to use the right descriptions, because I want to be true to what I remember, and really, you know, check my recall as well. Like, I've really found the last couple of weeks, I've spent a lot of time on Google Maps and Street View and really looking at these streets that I've walked down if I can. So, and, you know, going back to my old homes as well, trying to find my old homes on all the different places that I've lived, and going to those street views, and then sort of feeling myself in those places and remembering not only the experience of being in that, you know, being in the moment that I'm writing about, but being in the context that I was writing about as well. And so it's this really deep process. It's a really healing process, as Lee had mentioned. And yeah, so if I look at the words now, I think I'm now up to about 99,000 words with the full recognition that that's going to be chopped right down. But I've still got a lot to write, and it's a marathon. This isn't a sprint in any sense of the word. So I continue on my marathon of writing, and week after week, putting down more words, more memories, more assimilations and learnings about what all of this means. But now for the big reveal, because I know some of you are really waiting to hear what the working title of my book is. And this working title, as I know for traditional publishing, you don't get to keep your working title, and you don't get to keep your book cover. In traditional, the publishers decide, sometimes with you, sometimes without you, what you get to keep. So my working title for me, for my book journey, is The Quest into the Shadows. And I'd love to hear from you. When you hear that as a book title, The Quest into the Shadows, what do you think you might hear about? What would you like to hear about? The subtitle for the book is A Journey Around the World for the Answers Deep Within. So The Quest into the Shadows, A Journey Around the World for the Answers Deep Within is the working title for me. Subject to change, because another one I was thinking of was The Initiation, because really this book is about an initiation into life. So I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what your thoughts and reflections are on my working title. In terms of the book cover itself, I've thought about lots of different ideas around using symbolism, because I work, as many of you know, I work in meditation. I've trained in shamanic healing. I've done a lot of wisdom type work. So I'm very much attuned to the natural elements, and I'm very much attuned to symbolism. So I did have a cover that I was working towards that had some symbols, and it was, very, let's say esoteric, but it was very mysterious. And I also had some other covers where it was just a silhouette of a young guy sitting on a hill, in a dark, cloudy night as well. So that's where I'm at, working title, and book cover ideas that are subject to change, because I really want to do the traditional publishing if that's possible. And yeah, lots and lots of learning and reflections as I go through this next phase. I know that for April, it's going to be harder as the sun comes out a lot more, and here I am in our house sort of typing away when I'd really love to be outside, but I'm so dedicated to getting this done. I just really need to push through, particularly through the summer. And if we get to travel a little bit further later in the year, I'm hoping to take some of that time out to write as well. So write to me. I'd love to hear from you and your reflections on my working title and any book cover ideas. Knowing that will change, I'd still love to hear from you. So thank you very much for listening, and look forward to hearing from you all very, very soon.